So anything else that I missed? Because I'm going to recap here. Well, let me recap. You tell me if I missed something.
Okay.
So kind of hearing from our conversation, I feel like if I'm had a claim, I need to understand that the restoration process is different than a remodel process. So when I'm interviewing my contractor that I'm going to hire to do restoration work, I need to ask them different questions, right? Obviously, I still need to make sure that they're quality workmanship and that they know how to do the job. So that's one, asking questions, see if they can explain things to me. I need to make sure that they have a project manager who's actually going to manage my project so that way I can pick my paint colors, my cabinets, my flooring, and then not worry about it. Make sure that they're licensed and insured, bonded, so that way if there's an issue, I know that they have insurance that's going to be able to pay for this. And then I also need to ask questions about, do they understand how to work with the insurance adjuster and bill through insurance, because it's a different process. The technical work may be the same as a remodel. The paperwork and the back end work, very different than remodel work. And so I need to make sure that they understand how to do that. And if they don't, then I need to and if I still choose to hire them, I need to buckle up, understanding that I'm going to have a lot more work on my plate in order to get my insurance company to pay me, because the insurance company wants to pay to get me back to where I was, but they have to have documentation for their files to show that they're not just overpaying and that they're paying a going rate.
Yeah. Yeah. And Rich could probably answer this better, but inside Xactimate, there's a back end to it all that you can only get. You can't get it out of the paper files that are provided. So Xactimate generates a PDF, and inside of that, on the back side is components of every line item. And, Rich is very, very good at understanding what all those mean and diving in deeper. Because if it shows flooring, say it shows LVP, it's going to include labor and materials. And so, but you can't see on there necessarily all the time, how much is it accounting for the actual material of the floor? How much is it accounting for the, whatever.
The labor rate?
Well, the labor rate is one, but like, what about the glue? If there's glue involved, glue is expensive. You can spend, on a big tub of it. It's not cheap. Or what about the nails? Or, those are all things that need to be taken into account. So you as a homeowner, if you don't know all those really well, it's not, the goal isn't to make money on this. That's not the goal at all. Right. And then the goal isn't also from our standpoint, our moral compass on this is not to, like you said, go out and make a whole bunch of money to be that 30% more, but we want to make sure that we can do the work properly and that the customer gets what they had before for that price. That's Rich's initial estimate. Now, if we want to change it and go a different direction, that's fine.
Right.
But at the end of the day, the goal is specifically to put the customer back where they were a few minutes before the loss. Obviously, think of new materials, it's going to look a lot better.
Right.
So, depending on the house, right? It might be the same or better, right? Sure, it certainly shouldn't go backwards at all. But that's what the expectation is at that point. So, if the homeowner chooses to do their own reconciliation, they don't really have the tools as well to get there. So, have you seen that go well?
Have I seen the
homeowners doing their own reconciliation with the adjuster?
No. I mean, if you've got a good adjuster, they should be able to communicate with a homeowner and understand how the software works and be able to do that to some degree. But the likelihood is the homeowner is not going to have the level of knowledge to provide the detail that the adjuster is going to need to justify things. They could say, "Oh, this is more difficult than normal because this room's this shape or whatever, or there aren't cabinets that fit this opening or something like that." Maybe you can have some success getting the adjuster to just throw some extra money at it, but to get it accurate, no, it's. And unless you're a contractor yourself, you're probably not you're probably not able to reconcile that to the correct amount with the adjuster. Again, and it's like you say, most adjusters are good people that are trying to get their job done, but they have a limited amount of time. And when I was an adjuster, I remember there was a guy who had a T-shirt and it said, "I am an engineer, contractor, plumber, electrician, blah, 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 blah." And the joke was because when you're an insurance adjuster, you're supposed to be able to do all of these things.
Right.
But realistically, you know, your knowledge has got to be very wide, but it can't be that deep in any one field because you just don't have the time for that, right? So yeah, and a good adjuster is going to try and reconcile anything with anybody. But you do have to have that requisite level of knowledge to be able to do it properly.
Right. I think there's just a lot to be said for that, right? Like if you can provide the adjuster, here's why I'm asking for this, right? And here's what I need. I was talking to someone that was an auto claim, so slightly different, but I told them the same thing. They were disputing the value of their vehicle. And I said, that's fine. We can dispute this. I said, I did a quick Google search. I found, 3 similar vehicles. None of them are going to be exactly the same, but they're very similar in the ballpark for mileage. It sounds to me like the adjuster's offering you a reasonable offer for the vehicle. If you don't feel like it is, you just need to find me 3 vehicles in your area that are similar, and we can provide that information to say, this is why we want more money. We can't just say we want more money, right? Like you need to provide something to show this is why I need more money to fix my house. And when we can do that, if we provide the right information to the adjuster, they're not going to fight you on it. They're going to pay it.
Yeah.
It's just, you have to actually provide the information. If the adjuster says, hey, we think this is $30,000 to repair your kitchen, and here's a 25-page estimate that I came up with to come up with this $30,000, and you just look at it and go, oh, I need $37,000. And he's like, okay, why? And you're like, well, because it's going to cost that much.
Yeah.
That's not going to help you. Now you're going to be frustrated versus like you have somebody, a project manager or an estimator who understands that 25 or 30 page estimate that the adjuster sent and can then pull it apart and go, well, highlight this area, and this area. These are under bid for this area, for our area, or to your point, it looks like you accidentally listed Formica countertops instead of granite countertops. Like those sort of things are going to be the night and day difference of how that homeowner is going to experience a claim.
Yeah. I think a good example from just like 2 weeks ago, we had I just watched from the background, right? But I watched an exchange with Rich and an adjuster, and the adjuster had accidentally backed out the material cost in a line item. So, but he had left some other components in it. So there's still a dollar amount associated. So if you weren't looking really closely, you would have never seen it, right? But Rich, being as he lives in that system, is like, send him an email back. Hey, just friendly heads up, you accidentally forgot to add the $4 a foot or whatever it was to this line item. So, our estimates are the same. We have the same line items in there. You just missed that component of it. And if you re-add that $4 a foot in, we'll be at the same place. And so we're not far off. But if you are a homeowner or a country that doesn't work with that regularly, you're like, man, there's like $4,000 difference. I don't know where that's at. I'd throw up your hands and whatever. But we're good at finding those things because it's there. The information's there. You just got to go looking.
Yeah.
So that's a good example of that as well.